read the Iraqis' own constitution that say things like, all state-owned enterprises, and Iraq was mostly socialist, must be privatized and sold not to Iraqis but foreigners, who are then allowed to take all the profits out of the country in direct violation of international law. No wonder all hell broke loose and insurgents started popping up trying to get rid of us before we took all their jobs away and stuff. Because what did Bremer do after that? Fired all 400,000 members of the Iraqi military who could have helped secure the peace. After all, it was their country. Replaced them with nobody. Then, for good measure, he fires all the government bureaucrats, 100,000 of them who ran, you know, the waterworks, the electricity grid, the telecom ministry, education, post office, exactly. That's why they needed a computer to figure out what to do for $50 million. It's because Bremer fired all of them, including 40,000 teachers, and replaced them with nobody. Then he fires all the cops and replaces them with nobody. No wonder all hell broke loose. Saddam Hussein, after Gulf War #1, had the electricity and the phones up and running within 2 months. But we haven't even gotten that far, and we've been in Iraq longer than we were in World War II. Haven't even gotten that together. The World Health Organization now reports that 70% of the drinking water in Baghdad is, in the whole country, is not fit to drink, and that 1 in 5 Iraqi children are starving. Only 1/3 of them are in any kind of school, hardly any rebuilding going on, 60% unemployment, crime through the roof. Not just the sectarian murders, but blood feuds and people kidnapping somebody's wife down the block or their kids just because they figure they might have some money left and this is a way to get it. This also means that now there's 2 million Iraqis have fled the country, which is destabilizing Jordan and Syria, and a few of them have gotten into Saudi Arabia, who are now putting up a wall and everything. And there's another 2 million who are refugees within Iraq, and we admitted 202 of them as refugees to this country, let the other 4 million just left them to the wolves and everything. And a lot of the people who fled were the middle class, and the educated people and the doctors and all took the money with them, took the know-how with them. Bush then has the nerve on 60 Minutes last January to come right out and say, I think the Iraqi people owe the American people a huge debt of gratitude. Came right out and said that. On that note, I need a drink. Gratitude. What kind of gratitude are we getting? Well, if you count Afghanistan, we're around 4,000 troops dead now, American soldiers, dwarfed by the number of dead Iraqis. Bush will cop to about 65,000 Iraqis dead, enough to fill up your football stadium with corpses. But that, according to another study, is a drop in the bucket. There's a study done that came out last year that was done by Johns Hopkins University and MIT in conjunction with another one that's somehow still functioning inside Baghdad. They did a field study. Their conclusion as of about a year ago was 650,000 Iraqis dead. And that even pales in comparison to all the other Iraqis we killed before we went into the country through the sanctions slapped on the country after Gulf War #1, where all of a sudden we denied them food, we denied them medicine, they weren't allowed to have ambulances, not even pencils for some reason, not allowed chlorine to clean up all the dirty water with all the germs in it and everything that were causing Iraqi kids to die of things as preventable as diarrhea, starving to death. And the estimated death toll from those sanctions on Iraq that Clinton was all too happy to continue, estimated death toll between 1 and 2 million people. That is not fighting terror or liberating anybody. That is genocide. And that is how people in the Middle East view us. Osama bin Laden even said in an interview before 9/11 that was one of the reasons he was dedicating his life to waging jihad against us, was because of those sanctions. You know, even if we do eventually wind up surging away and killing off every single insurgent, every supporter of Saddam Hussein, everybody in the world who had a single positive thought about Osama bin Laden, kill them all, what will their kids be like? What will their kids be like? I mean, the ones that really scare me are not the ones who dropped out of school in Egypt or Syria or Saudi Arabia or wherever to go to Iraq to wage jihad against infidel American occupiers. No, what about the ones who decided, I am never going to forget what they did to my people. I am dedicating myself to the jihad, but I'm going to be clever about this. I'm going to play it cool. I'm going to apply to graduate school in the United States. Or come over and get a computer job or something. And then I'll just live the infidel lifestyle and blend in like some of the 9/11 hijackers did for years. 2 years, 3 years, 5, even 10 years later, it won't take a bin Laden to tell me when today is the day. I will know when today is the day. I will not forget what they did to my people. I'm putting on the dynamite belt and I've got Super Bowl tickets. Or I'm going on down to the Gay Pride Parade or the 4th of July or the Mummers Parade, where they're not going to be searching anybody and just blow me up hundreds of infidels. Or I'm just going to go to a crowded venue and blow myself up at a rock show. And that one has already happened. In Russia, a Chechen suicide bomber blew herself up at a rock festival and killed over a dozen people. Not the kind of world I want to live in. Please. As much as I despise the policies of the current Israeli government, I can't help but feel for the Israeli people in those areas where every day you get on the bus or you're going to the market, you have no idea if someone else on the bus is going to blow themselves up and kill you or burn you up so bad you wish they'd killed you. Or you're going down to the market looking for some food for dinner and who's that? I never saw them before. And they're looking at me and they got a backpack and oh my God, ah! Every single day. No amount of Prozac will make that go away. Not even John Tesh albums will make that go away. Not the kind of world I want to live in. And then in addition to the dead American soldiers, what about the wounded? The Pentagon admits to at least 50,000 wounded. And another football or baseball stadium's worth of wounded. And the unofficial toll may be much higher than that. And a lot of soldiers don't want to report post-traumatic stress or anything because they're afraid they're going to be sent back again because of that. So who knows what's really going on. Maybe a more telling statistic came out of the Pentagon 1 year into the war. In 2004, they admitted after only 1 year, number of troops they had to send home because of injury or illness, 29,000. Multiply that by 4 or more, and that's going to be a little more realistic. And these wounded soldiers, they're not getting sent home because they sprained their ankle or got a cut on their cheek from some shrapnel. These are people coming back with arms or legs missing. Sometimes faces missing. Or something like that, too. My old friend Vic Bondi, who played here many times in a hardcore band called Articles of Faith, and later as Report Suspicious Activity, Jones Varian, Alloy, that Vic Bondi. Anyway, his father was a career naval officer and was getting treated recently for prostate cancer at Bethesda Naval Hospital, and Vic said it just tore him to pieces going in there to visit his dad and seeing all these young men in wheelchairs in the halls and in the commons areas with chunks of their heads missing. Yeah. And of course, the illness isn't the sniffles. We're talking about Gulf War syndrome. You know, which, just like Agent Orange, doesn't really exist according to the Pentagon, but oh no, it's a myth. All those splitting headaches and spaz attacks and inability to focus and double vision and cancer and deformed children, oh, that's all in your mind. We have no idea what causes Gulf War syndrome. Well, several other studies have concluded that we probably do know what causes a lot of Gulf War syndrome. You remember John Ashcraft's warning that, you know, terrorists could set off a dirty bomb downtown, a regular bomb coated with radioactive crap that would explode and poison a bunch of people with radiation? Guess who's been using dirty bombs all along? We have. That was it. Depleted uranium. Shells coated with depleted uranium, and granted, it makes the metal so hard, it'll go right through the armor of a tank and blow it up from the inside, melt who's ever in there, but what have you got left over? Radiation, which might explain after the Gulf War why the cancer rate in southern Iraq went up 700%. Clinton used the dirty bombs in Kosovo, too. Hey, Kosovars, we finally got around to getting rid of Milosevic and his butchers and left your land happily aglow. And of course, we're using depleted uranium shells all over Iraq right now. Our troops and the Iraqis be damned. And of the 500, this is a VA statistic from 2 years ago now. I don't have a new one, but this is scary. Of all the troops that Bush's father sent into the Gulf War the first time around, 550,000 troops, how many, according to the VA, were living on permanent disability in the 550,000? 325,000. Over half. In Vietnam, that ratio is 1 to 10, even after all these years. What's going to happen to the troops this time, at a time when we don't want to pay for health care for anybody, for all practical purposes? And already, according to ABC News, 1 in 4 troops who've been discharged from the military since they went to Iraq have already applied for permanent disability because they're too fucked up to work anymore. So I guess the reason I'm harping on and on about this is that the moral of the story is, if you know anybody who is in the military or thinking of signing up, now is the time to do whatever it takes to persuade them to get the hell out of there. I mean, one thing that would at least be worth trying is, you know you're about to get deployed to Iraq or something. Hey, go up to your commanding officer, your CO, want to smoke some weed? Out! Or, I can't hold it anymore, I'm gay. Out! Although some veterans are now telling me that doesn't even work anymore, but they'll still throw you out like that if you're caught smoking crack. So maybe that's the solution. You can either be a totally messed up, well, you know, from your war experience, or you can be a crackhead. What a great choice. Yay! Yeah. And the reason you got to get people out of there is because, in the meantime, Bush's defense secretary, an old Contragate criminal who should still be in jail by the name of Robert Gates, he came right out and said, for Iraq, we're looking at the Korea model. In other words, we've had troops in Korea for 50 years now. There has never been an official end to the declaration of war in Korea. We've just still got soldiers there and stuff. That's what they have in mind, and the Pentagon is going full speed ahead with construction crews to make at least 4 of our military bases in Iraq permanent. Whether the Iraqis want them there or not, just like Guantanamo Bay. Steal Cuban land, put up a base, and refuse to leave. 4 of these, at least in Iraq right now, plus another $600 million of our tax taxpayers' money being pissed away on building the largest embassy ever constructed in the history of the world. By a factor of 10. 80 football fields in size on prime riverfront real estate in the middle of what we call the green zone, a gift from the Iraqi government. And inside of 80 football fields worth of land, they've got all these dormitories going up for the 3,000 to 5,000 Americans expected to work there. Couldn't get Baghdad's electricity up and running. They only get it for 2 to 4 hours a day, so it's going to have its own power source. It's going to have its own nice clean water supply for the pool and the spas and the lattes, what have you. Its own surface-to-air missile base inside, and a wall around the whole thing, right in the middle of the Iraqi capital, wall almost 20 feet thick. And it's the only American construction project in Iraq scheduled to be completed on time. What does this say to the world and the Iraqi people besides this, of course? What it says is our official policy is never, ever to leave. And it's not as though Pelosi and Hillary and Barack Obama are unaware of this. They can't not know. The official policy is never to leave. In other words, one more reason we got to keep pushing for the whole plug being pulled and cutting off the money. Well, this is just going to go on and on and on. Most constructive thing we could be doing now is just admit to the world we are terribly sorry. We made a horrible mistake and pull all the troops out now. Not just ending the military occupation, but ending the economic occupation. Iraq is not ours to sell. No.
They can't run us out of the Middle East. The war on terror is the calling of our times.
Oh, really? We dropped more bombs on Vietnam than we did in World War II, and they ran us out of there anyway. We will be run out of Iraq sooner or later. It's just a matter of how many people die, how much money we blow. In Vietnam, it took 50,000 dead Americans and millions of dead Vietnamese before we finally got the hint. But at least in that case, we haven't been stalked by Vietnamese terrorists for again and again and again. But this is worse. We do owe the Iraqi people help and have a responsibility to clean up the mess we've made. And that goes double for Afghanistan. Afghanistan, we have now betrayed twice in the last 25 years. Use them as a staging ground for a proxy war with the Soviet Union, arming and training and financing Mujahideen guerrillas even before the Soviets invaded. And that was Jimmy Carter's people who did that. Goaded the Soviets into invading, a bunch of people get killed, and then what do? Do we even so much as say thanks to the Afghan people? We did nothing. Didn't rebuild any cities, schools, water treatment plants, roads, farms, nothing. We didn't even disarm the Mujahideen, one of whom was named Osama bin Laden. So they just degenerated back into being warlords and drug lords and fighting each other with all the fancy new guns and rocket launchers and things we gave them, and many, many more Afghans got killed in the crossfire. The next 10 years? I don't know, I can't remember the exact time period, until finally it even made the Taliban look good because they were the only people who could keep order. Now what happens? We declare mission accomplished because Afghanistan has a president. You know, Hamid Karzai, the guy in the cute little hat that's actually made out of the fur of sheep fetuses and all. He basically is mayor of Kabul, the capital, during daylight hours. That's all the power he has. Otherwise, we sucked everything over to Iraq and gave the country back to the same warlords, drug lords, and yes, here comes the Taliban again. Yet, we found, was this 05 or 06? Must have been 05, $780 million we gave to Afghanistan for drug eradication efforts. Not to feed people or build houses, drug eradication. Look how well it worked. Afghanistan is now the opium capital of the world by far. Over 90% of the heroin supply is coming out of Afghanistan now. $600 million worth. Does anybody want to do the math there? We could have saved $180 million of our drug eradication money if we had simply bought all the drugs. We could do this in Colombia. We could do this in Peru. Yeah, it's sickening to think of the idea of shaking hands and doing business with drug lords, but is that better, is that worse than junkies? You know, if we just buy all the drugs, destroy all the drugs so they don't keep coming up here and killing my friends, drug war over. Done. Done. You know, we do owe the Iraqi people help in Afghanistan and have the responsibility to clean up the mess we've made, but that does not mean sending more and more troops into the desert as rent-a-cops for Halliburton and Exxon, and then leaving them sitting ducks in the middle of a civil war we helped cause and yelling, "Bring it on!" No, it means letting the United Nations or the Arab League or the Islamic Conference Organization or someone the Iraqis are more comfortable with run the show. Sure, we can stay and help rebuild, maybe even maintain some security, but we're not in charge. We answer to whoever is in charge. Follow orders from the respected neutral party in charge. Not we police them, we help them. Not colonize and plunder them, we help them and we follow orders and make sure all the money from the Iraqi oil that nobody seems to know where it's going now, not even Chalabi, as far as we know, that money should be shared with each Iraqi citizen starting now. And the leading cause of terror isn't evil, it's poverty. And as Michael Moore puts it, will we ever get to the point that we realize we will be more secure when the rest of the world isn't living in poverty so we can have nice running shoes? Yeah. So on that note, what can we do to keep ourselves from being dragged any further down the road to ruin and off a cliff and down the toilet by a bush, a dick, and until recently a colon? Don't believe the hype. We are patriotic citizens too, because we're the ones who care enough about our country to stand up and fight the government when they break the law and kill people in our name. And I'm sorry, this cannot wait till 2008. Oh, Jello, who are you backing in 2008? Fuck them all! Fuck them. It's not even 2008 yet. That election is almost a year and a half away. We can't just be sitting on our asses watching these clowns be paraded on television like they're an American Idol and assume that's going to stop the war. Yeah. The war is we're going to be in the exact same place in Iraq if we wait until 2008. I mean, even the supposed anti-war candidate, the Barack star, Barack Obama, he's even backed away from saying he wants to pull the troops out. No, they should be redeployed. That's not withdrawal. Redeployed to, quote Obama, protect American assets like the Green Zone. American assets? Do you know what the Green Zone really is? I mean, it only shows an aerial photo of an old Saddam palace, but if you see an aerial photo of the whole thing, the palace is about that big, and that new American embassy is about that big. The Green Zone is huge. It's 4 square miles. It's bigger than downtown Philly by maybe even 2 or 3 times, and we stole the whole thing. Put up a wall. Now the Iraqis can't even drive down the main boulevards to go to work anymore. We stole the whole thing. It's not an American asset to begin with, Mr. Obama. No, wrong. That's not going to stop the war, though. I mean, burning a flag alone is it's not going to stop the war. Oh, speaking of flags and perhaps mutilation thereof, have you seen Obama's logo? It is ingenious. It's the best piece of propaganda art I've seen in I don't know how long. It's a big O, and it's got kind of a sky with the American flag stars in it, and some stripes going through it that look like farmland or whatever, feel good, homespun, American flag. The O is white, so it's nice and glowing. Oh, if that guy's that good this early at getting rich people to give him that much money, what is he really? Yeah, I mean, corporate evildoers only bow to extreme, relentless pressure, especially when the machine gets so disrupted it can't operate properly, which is what got rid of Vietnam. And it looks hopeless right now. Nobody will listen to us. We just get junk mail and non-binding resolutions as Bush and Cheney laugh all the way to the bank. But it's a similar situation we face when a few lonely voices in the wilderness began to cry out and have the courage to say, we should not be going to Vietnam. That's the wrong war. We're going to get, a lot of innocent people are going to get killed. You should get the troops out of there. And they were put down immediately as traitors, commies, freaks, peaceniks, pinkos, faggots.
Beatniks.
But in the long run, against incredible odds, with a whole military-industrial complex aiming at the American people with both barrels, hierarchies of the Democratic and Republican parties aiming at the people with both barrels, the American people rose up and we did stop the Vietnam War. We've done it once, we can do it again. I mean, we didn't just stop Vietnam. Look how quickly we stopped Daddy Bush's Gulf War. That was over after a little more than a month, in part because the protests got so big and so fierce so fast. Yeah. And do you think we would have any of the gains we've gotten with civil rights, the environmental movement, the feminist movement, the gay rights movement, freedom of choice with people's bodies? Would we have any of that if we just waited for our corporate overlords to grant the peasants some new rights out of the goodness of their corporate hearts? No, the only reason we got them was because we fought for it and we fought to keep it and continue to do so. That's the only reason we get these things. We wouldn't have even gotten the New Deal from Franklin Roosevelt, I don't think, except things were just going to pieces then, and he, unlike a lot of people as rich as he was, at least had the forethought to think, there's so many people unemployed, so many riots, people occupying the Capitol Mall, so many homeless people, everything else, we better do something or we're going down. And that's where the New Deal came from. And people who were there back in the day, like Tom Hayden and Noam Chomsky, have said that this anti-war movement is much bigger and much better organized than it was in the same amount of time after the Vietnam War got going. And we've got 2/3 of the country turned against the war in half the time it took with Vietnam. So, if this protest movement and the anti-war insurrection is the failure that corporate media keeps claiming it is, then why are they afraid to mention us at all? Why do they keep spying on us? No. I mean, as Tom Hayden said also, without this peace movement, there will be no peace. And when you think about it, the only thing standing in the way of more wars, more Abu Ghraibs, more Guantanamo Bays coming soon behind a Walmart near you is us. Only thing standing in the way. Jesse Jackson likes to say, keep hope alive. I say, keep fire alive. They know who we are, so don't get quiet. get louder and louder and louder. And I got something I can guarantee that's going to make you feel better than all the infomercials on TV put together, even Ron Jeremy. Just say after me, fuck George Bush!
Yeah, fuck George Bush!
I can't hear ya!
Fuck George Bush!
I still can't hear ya!
Fuck George Bush!
See, everybody's smiling now. See how I mean, don't ever think that fighting the power has to be, oh, it's a struggle of the proletariat against the big bad fascist pigs. And you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna have meetings, goddammit. Because the answer to all the world's problems is Bob Avakian. You got that one, yeah. But no, I mean, this is not time for tears. This is time to get evil. Again!
Fuck George Bush! Fuck George Bush!
But remember, it is Bushism itself we're fighting. A disease that affects more than one party in more than one country. Curse them, hex them, sodomize and mutilate their corpses in your dreams. At the very least, find some way to sabotage their agenda every single day in your own life. Because all we got upstairs is an all too loyal opposition of deal makers instead of leaders. Deal makers instead of leaders. Clinton, Gore, Kerry, deal makers, not leaders. Pelosi, deal maker. One-party state masquerading as a two-party state. Where the Republicans stand for greed, corruption, pollution, bigotry, and war. While Democrats stand for pretending to feel guilty about greed, corruption, pollution, bigotry, and war. I agree with Jim Hightower. It would make our elections a little more honest to require politicians to plaster the logos of their corporate sponsors. Like NASCAR drivers or something. Or for the Law and Order crowd, how about this? Lying on the campaign trail, a felony. Because at this point, what we keep getting are, oh, hey, I got elected. Am I going to serve my voters and constituency? No. I'm going to crawl around on all fours looking for every single shade of brown lipstick I can get my hands on. I'm going to put on so much brown lipstick I look like Ronald McDonald. If I stay a while and I'm a committee chairman, I'm going to look like Al Jolson. I got so much brown lipstick all over my face. Because if I put on enough brown lipstick, get it so thick you can stick a quarter in it, then maybe when I retire from public service, I can become a lobbyist for the same corporations I was in charge of regulating the day before. Or, and if I'm really good at that, maybe they'll finally put me on their board of directors and I can really cash in. And that's why they keep voting to fund the war, why a significant chunk of Democrats voted for Samuel Alito, half of them voted for Alberto Gonzalez, half of them for Condoleezza Rice, half of them for John Roberts, and that howling, incompetent, space alien-looking guy at Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, approved unanimously. Unanimously. And then, about a year and 3 months ago, when nobody's looking, they voted to make the Patriot Act permanent, including the parts about the detentions and that the FBI can go down to a bookstore or even a library and demand lists of who's been reading what. And they can break into your home anytime they want to and not tell you they've been there, look at your computer, and if you catch them doing any of this, or you happen to be working at the library or something, and you tell anybody else that you've been attacked this way, you go to jail for that, under the Patriot Act. Yeah, and among the people who voted for the Patriot Act to make it permanent were John Kerry, Hillary Clinton, Barbara Boxer, and Barack Obama voted to make the Patriot Act permanent. I mean, people keep telling me, oh, but Obama's so cool. Haven't you seen his book, The Audacity of Hope? Well, I know somebody else who had the audacity to misuse other people's hope, like the Pied Piper, and his name was Bill Clinton. Yeah. Only George W. Bush could make Clinton look good. He has. Basically, I mean, the Patriot Act, permanent. And if that's not enough, what do they sneak in last fall but something much, much worse? No, much worse. The Military Commissions Act. Ever heard of that one? This is the one that said that now torture is legal, secret arrests are legal, holding people indefinitely without trial is legal, and we've held people in Guantanamo Bay under unspeakably horrible conditions in dog-pound cages with hoods on their heads in tropical heat for 6 years now. No wonder some of them are killing themselves and some of the others are being deemed too insane to be able to defend themselves if they're ever tried. But according to the Military Commissions Act, you don't have to bother with that either. You just try them in front of a military tribunal where they still can't see the evidence against them. And if somebody who's been tortured so bad he'll say anything to get you to stop testifies against you and you get sentenced to death, you get no appeal. No appeal. That's a 900-year-old right under the Magna Carta. Habeas corpus. You don't even get that anymore. They just take you out and kill you under the Military Commissions Act. I mean, even John McCain voted yes to the Military Commissions Act legalizing torture and kidnappings and renditions and all. And he's been a tortured prisoner. I mean, what happened to him? Did he get some weird outbreak of nostalgia for what he went through in the 60s? Voted yes to torture. I mean, isn't this the same stuff that we went into World War II to stop the Nazis from doing? Same stuff. As far as I'm concerned, anybody who votes yes to torture ain't no better than a fucking Nazi. McCain even came out and did a whole weekly news magazine cover story opposing the bill and opposing torture and then voted yes. Another one who said no but then voted yes was a guy named Arlen Specter. Another one who said Sieg Heil, let's torture innocent people and all. I'm sorry, that's like the Patriot Act, only worse. That torture is not okay. No. You vote for that, one strike, you're out. Yeah. Or to put it less politely, fuck you. Don't vote for anybody who supports the war. Don't vote for anybody who supports the Patriot Act. And don't vote for anybody who says they oppose the war but keeps voting to fund the war, which means they really do support the war. Wrong. You know, with all these horrible new laws and legalizing torture and, you know, we've still got hundreds of people in prison in Guantanamo Bay, hundreds more incommunicado in this country, and over 20,000 more held without charge, mostly in Iraq and Afghanistan. How many terrorists have we convicted?
0.
We've got a few low-level ones that are being appealed, but overall, none of those charges have stuck. Moussaoui doesn't count. We caught him before we thought we needed all these new fascist laws. Haven't convicted one single terrorist. But we got Cat Stevens. And if we're really lucky, now that you can't escape him, Paul McCartney, maybe we'll get him too. I mean, imagine having to work at Starbucks and hear that Paul McCartney album over and over and over again every single day for a year. You know, talk about post-traumatic stress. It's hard to get out of there. God, I mean, I still haven't recovered from working in a pizza place when I was 18, 19 years old. They only had 3 records there. Hotel California, Eric Clapton, 461 Ocean Boulevard, and Boz Scaggs, Silk Degrees, over and over and over again. Those were the real roots of Dead Kennedys. Because that's what I wanted to destroy. Punk may have been co-opted now, but the spirit lives on, and if nothing else, at least we helped burn down the Hotel California. Yeah. Bury the 70s once and for all. But meanwhile, yeah, we got Cat Stevens, but we can't get anybody else. But hey, you never know. Don't you feel more secure now when you go to the airport? Man, we're really kicking butt at the airport. All those people in TSA uniforms who may or may not be Al-Qaeda plants or ex-cons, because we've never checked their resumes or anything. Just to get group. And then, oh, well, at least now I can rest assured that I can get on the plane and come here to Philly, and no one's going to hijack the plane wielding tweezers. And nobody is going to blow up the plane with a bottle of shampoo that big that's in the wrong plastic bag. Not just the wrong size plastic bag, but if you go through Chicago as often as I do, you better have the right brand of plastic bag too. And every time you go through, they've moved the goalposts and changed the rules again. No, it's wrong plastic bag now. You have to give all that up. I am so sick of this. It serves nothing but a dog and pony show while terrorism goes up in other parts of the world. I'm seriously tempted to show up in one of those places, big old carry-on case that's going to set off all the bells and whistles, and we got a live one, take him away. And they open up the case and there's a smaller one inside. Open it up and there's a smaller one inside. A smaller one. Finally open the little one, and out comes the Jack in the Box that looks just like Osama bin Laden. Unzip my backpack and out jumps a bush in the box.
Foul terror, defend freedom! Foul terror, defend freedom! Don't mess with Texas!
But meanwhile, if we're that worried about terrorism and smugglers, why is it in a port city like this, especially, that only 1/10 of the cargo that comes in on ships is ever inspected, and only 1% of our food supply imported is ever inspected? And those are really big containers in those ships, huge containers, one per semi-truck, one per railroad car. You can fit a lot of surface-to-air missiles in one of those and shoot down an airliner for real. Smuggle in not only a bomb to make a dirty bomb out of, but the dirty stuff as well. You could even bring in bin Laden himself and have a 90% chance of succeeding. He could be driving a cab in Manhattan right now. Or is he the ice cream man? Or is he the new tech support guy you were forced to train so he could replace you at your own job? Yeah. And in the meantime, the Barack Star and the Hillbillies and the rest, they have other things that work to terrorize us with. How many of you have ever heard of the Media Marketing and Accountability Act? This is the one that pops up every session of Congress, and thankfully it has not been passed or even made it to committee, but it keeps getting introduced. And the usual sponsors are Mad Dog McCain and your friend and mine, Senator Joseph Lieberman. Bush's favorite Democrat who loves the war and loves Abu Ghraib and says that Marilyn Manson causes high school shootings and things like that. Well, Media Marketing Accountability Act, what it says is that the obnoxious little tipper sticker they have on some albums, explicit lyric, parental advisor, which is supposedly industry voluntary, should be replaced by a much stricter rating system enforced by federal law. One-size-fits-all rating system for music, movies, DVDs, and games, with a rating according to Lieberman and McCain. And anybody who doesn't put the mark of the Lieber Beast on their music or whatever, it's automatically illegal. Automatically illegal. How do you make your own demo CD to sell at your band's little show, or a 7-inch or something like that, when the Board of Censors doesn't have time to rate you because they're still bogged down with Turner Classic Movies and oldies songs or something like that? Plus, the Media Marketing Accountability Act says that anybody who doesn't obey the law and tries to sell something without the mark of the Lieber Beast, or worse yet, doesn't rate their stuff strictly enough for some Yahoo sheriff who wants to get their name in the paper or something, well, they're fined by the Federal Trade Commission $11,000 per unit sold per day. Yeah. And the last time that bill was introduced, it had a third sponsor. Hillary Clinton. Yeah. The ghost of Tipper Gore returns. These people are not our friends. Another one we thought was our friend wanted to have a law requiring computer makers to only make computers where in order to log on to your own computer, you had to put a smart card inside it that would then alert the government you're online and tell the government everything that you had, everything about you. They can know, see what you're doing the whole time. And the one who proposed that was Howard Dean. And ever heard of the COPE Act? The one that almost got passed last fall. The House passed it and then it bogged down in the Senate a little bit. But this one may come back. Oh, but it's the COPE Act. Oh, what a nice cuddly name. And CNN says, oh, what a great law. It'll mean faster internet access. Oh, who would want that? Well, what the COPE Act really is, it's designed to wipe out internet neutrality itself. And by net neutrality, I mean the net as we know it today, where it's a level playing field. Anybody can log on. Anybody can send a message, look at websites, buy shit, put up MySpace or Facebook or whatever, put up their own site, you name it, you can do it, and it's all a level playing field. This does not sit well with the telecommies, the big phonies, people like AT&T, Verizon, and Comcast, who put together the COPE Act, which if it became law, it would privatize the internet and hand it to them for free. And sure, some people would then get new, faster internet service, but as long as you've got money on the scale of somebody like Disney and are patriotically correct in your viewpoint, sure, you get to be on the new superhighway. But for everybody else, you're derailed and exited off and put on a dirt road if you're allowed to be on the net at all. For example, Comcast, when they took over the cable service of Marin County, right north of San Francisco in California, suddenly people who got their FM radio through cable couldn't get KPFA, the progressive news station, anymore. That point of view was not allowed by Comcast. So what wiping out internet neutrality is designed to do for them is not just a big monetary scam, it's part of an ongoing war, not just to crack down and wipe out our freedom of speech, but our right to communicate. Very important right, the right to communicate. What they would rather have is, okay, here's the First Amendment in your textbooks and under glass. You can say anything you want so long as nobody hears it. Only one side is allowed on corporate McNews or corporate McMedia. Bill O'Reilly can say anything he wants, but you're not allowed to reply. Unless you go up there and then he tells you to shut up every 5 seconds and kicks you off the air, and otherwise you're not allowed to communicate. Another way they won't allow people to communicate, I don't know if they've done this in Philly yet, but even in San Francisco, there's laws now that fine you hundreds of dollars for putting a flyer on a telephone pole without permission of somebody like Live Nation or the government or something like that. City of Pittsburgh, in this very state, the first person they threw the book at when they enacted a poster crackdown was a woman who put up anti-war protest flyers. Fined her hundreds of dollars per flyer they were able to pull down. And then they announced, yeah, now that we've got our precedent, we're going to crack down on people with lost pets. That'll fight terror, won't it? Yeah. Fight cracking down on people's rights to communicate. Another one that they did here in the Republican convention in 2000 and then did again the next time around is the cops with all their fancy new Star Wars riot gear armed against their own American people. You can't come anywhere near the convention site. We don't want the delegates or worse yet the media to see you. You don't like what's going down. You have to go miles and miles away to the free speech zone. The protest pen, as they call it. The free speech zone. In Boston at the Democratic convention last time, the free speech zone turned out to be way far away from the convention center, 16-foot tall cinder block walls with barbed wire on top of it, planks up there with reserve soldiers and National Guard watching you with their weapons drawn in case you uttered any free speech or something, and all of it was underneath a building under construction. The free speech zone. A month or so ago, I was in South Carolina, and people told me there they used the same thing when people showed up to protest a Nazi rally at the state capitol. The cops protected the Nazis and sent everybody else far away to a free speech zone, so only the Nazis were really allowed to express themselves, cracking down on our right to communicate. There's even been case after case of teenagers being either thrown out of school, grilled for hours by Homeland Security as terrorists, or arrested just for a t-shirt they're wearing. Kid outside of Cincinnati got grilled by the Secret Service for 6 hours for one of those fat Records Not My President shirts he had on. Granted, he'd drawn a little scope on Bush's face. Since when was a little kid with a magic marker a real threat to assassinate Bush? Is he that vulnerable he could die from magic marker or something? No, it's just to set an example for everybody else at the school. Do not communicate these kind of ideas. I mean, in Albany, New York, they arrested a father and a son in a shopping mall for wearing a pro-peace t-shirt that was made in the mall, because it was going to disturb other shoppers and ironically disturb the peace, cracking down on people's right to communicate. And sometimes we are not helping our own cause with this, are we? You know, we got to do everything we can to hang on and preserve and use our right to communicate, but sometimes they've even had to tell people who work for my little label, Alternative Tentacles, or help get these shows together, hey, did you talk to that person? Oh yeah, I talked to him. What did they say? Oh, I didn't talk to him, I emailed him. That's not speaking to somebody. It isn't even really communicating if you just send an email and assume your job is done. No, communication is an equation. You have to complete the equation. You have to get a response, or it's not communicating anything. And I can't believe in this day and age of all these fancy, bedazzling, highfalutin technological gadgetries, we've allowed ourselves to be so dumbed down that we have to relearn that if we really need an answer to a question quickly, it doesn't cut it to just sit on your ass. Didn't you get my email? If it's that urgent, call them on the phone. It's amazing how this works. It's amazing how this works in the age of instant messaging. You call somebody on the phone, you ask them a question, they answer it instantly. And then you can ask them another question, and they answer it instantly. And then another, and then another, and before you know it, you've saved yourself 3 weeks of Smitty emails. Or text. I'm 20 yards away from you at the mall, but I'm not going to talk to you. It's the thought that counts, I guess. But is that even a thought? It's not communicating. Or another one, an ex-girlfriend of mine who lives in LA now told me that she was out at a club or something at a show and met a woman. She talked with her a while. They hit it off really well, that they were going to be good friends. She tells the other woman what her name is. Oh, you're my MySpace friend. And she walked away. Wouldn't talk to her anymore. Oh no, a MySpace friend, never speak to them and never have to be responsible for them and just collect them instead. I have so many friends. Wasn't very long ago that living in a world of imaginary friends was considered a mental illness. I mean, granted, you can do really cool things with phones now. It's the best friend a peeping Tom ever had. You know, wow, you just thought, hey, they got new phones where you can see whole first-run feature-length films on your phone. Why? There's some cool new movie out and I want to go see it in the theater. I don't want to have to watch it on a little screen on my fucking phone. Some of us want more out of life. Oh, wow, I just saw a whole Bon Jovi concert available only to Verizon customers, and Bon Jovi was the size of a termite for over an hour. It was awesome, man. As I say, some of us want more out of life. About a year ago, I sat next to an middle school English teacher on a cross-country flight from San Francisco to New York, and she was just in despair about what this has done to the students she's getting. She says it's just, she can see their communication and cognitive skills just plummeting and plummeting, down, down, down. She has to keep telling kids in class to take their iPod phones out of their ears while she's trying to teach the class. And then she'd see them in the hall, and if they were texting somebody 2 lockers down or checking their smell phones or something and were actually talking to another human being, they'd still have a bud in their ear. So they were kind of multitasking, but not really paying attention to either one very much at all. But I can't stand the silence. What? I mean, if you really can't stand the silence, go to Europe, where you will be accommodated, even against your will, where you can't go into a market or stand on a platform waiting for a train without escaping it, coming from who knows where. Obey, obey, obey. Get up, go to work, get on the train, go home, go, obey, obey. You cannot escape. You will not be even allowed any silence. Things like that. And plus, the more we keep getting MySpaced out and, you know, even if you're somebody who likes to keep up with current events, you Google Gaga the stuff that you're interested in but never read anything else, or, you know, you're so caught up with instant this and instant that, knowing what everybody else is wearing to school today, or whether Paris Hilton's out of jail yet or not, or really important stuff like that, you miss everything else and are thus that much easier to manipulate. I mean, what are we creating here when the cyber, oh no, I forgot one other important thing here. Does this mean blame the kids? Or is this a byproduct of this species of parent who thinks that all they have to do to raise children is throw them in the back of the minivan or the SUV, lower the screen from the ceiling, and make them watch TV while they're driving to the store so they don't have to talk to their own kids? You know, the kind who name their precious artifact children Madison or Oswald or something, and then say, oh, guess what, Zoe? Now for Christmas you're going to get your own TV and your own computer for your room. And then you can shut the door and we never even have to be reminded you exist. Unless we show you off on special occasions. That's what's causing this. And what are we creating when the cyber world and instant blippity blooping is more real than reality? What happens when people like that are put in charge? Even though the causes and origins are different, an example of what happens when somebody completely disengaged, who just bounces from one childish impulse to another and handed the keys to something really important, look no further than the red, white, and blue Caligula himself, George W. Bush. Yeah. There you have it. I mean, forgot my Bush quote, and here's my Bush page, which, oh, of course.
The illiteracy level of our children are appalling. Our nation must come together to unite.
That's what we get, basically. This is somebody who was so curious about the rest of the world, he'd never even been to Europe before he decided he should be president. And said he had no personal memory of the Vietnam War ever being discussed when he was going to college at Yale.
Wow.
I mean, how drunk was he? He still kind of treats the presidency as one big kegger in a way. And, you know, I even get this vision that haunts me at night sometimes of him running around on the White House lawn or loose on the grounds of Camp David with a shirt pulled up over his head like a certain cartoon character.
I'm emergency searching for my bunghole.
He even brags he doesn't read the newspapers.
I'll glance at the headlines just to kind of a flavor for what's moving. I rarely read the stories and get briefed by people who probably read the news themselves. The best way to get the news is from objective sources. And the most objective sources I have are people on my staff who tell me what's happening in the world.
Yeah.